What is going on, everybody? Bobby Fye and Eric Sheethaber. We're going to be talking through this early slate and then the late slate. A little note, we aren't going to be having a live show tonight, most likely, because it's a four-gamer, and I got some things I'm also going to be out tomorrow, and we're going to try to, and Sheets might be out for live tomorrow, but good for recording. It's baseball, so not a whole bunch changes usually between morning and afternoon, although I say that yesterday coming off of a day where we had one of the most important games canceled because the weather was not an issue in the morning, and then it was an issue in the afternoon. So that's something that, look, it's just going to happen from time to time, and it's a weird time of the summer. I'm going to have some days off and on where I'm here next week. Sheets should be around most of the week next week. But just wanted to let you guys know. But every time we have a chance, we will get in here and do it. At the same time, all the projections and everything are still going. And, we have all the information, and we're all in Discord. You want to tag, me or Rody or anything with any questions, I'm always happy to answer those. So happy Thursday, and let's get into this three-gamer. First of all, Sheets, how'd you do yesterday?
Yeah, so I kicked it old school yesterday. So I won a little bit yesterday. You know what I did? Like, I can't believe it's like stuff that I did when I first started. I really went and I took a stand on something. So I played 50 lineups last night in the relay throw. I played the big buy-in. I played the relay without the other one. Mm-hmm. All 50 lineups, I played Stone from the Dodgers.
Oh, really?
Every one of them. And, listen, like we talked about it, and I just said, listen, enough is enough. We're just going to just go after these White Sox. And Stone was just dealt a complete game shutout, 40 points. And unfortunately, I couldn't get the rest of the combinations exactly right to benefit from it. I had some exposure to the rained out game. And I didn't have much of anything in the Minnesota, which was a little annoying. But I went right in there. I hit the, what's his name used to say, who's that dude? I used to hit the lock button on the,
yeah.
What's his name again? God dang it.
What, you mean from RG?
Yeah.
Chief?
Yes. Chief Justice.
Yeah.
Right. I wanted to hit the lock button on the, on the Stone. And I was really, and I don't want to do that all the time, but I was so confident of it. You know what I mean? That every once in a while, I figured I would throw one down, so to speak.
Yeah.
All right. Let's. I guess we'll. You know what we'll do? We'll share my screen, and what I wanted to do, I'll share my screen, my SaberSim screen, because I already uploaded the projections in here for the early slate, and man, I'm going to be very, very curious to see what happens because I did it on purpose this way. So I uploaded the projections, and I knew that was going to happen. I was going to get 400% Chris Sale, I mean, look, for all the things we just talked about, you know what I mean? Like he's got upside anyway, and the White Sox just hand fantasy points to whoever wants to take them. So I imagine he was going to be like 100% owned. I mean, I say 100, he's not going to be 100, but I was going to get like 100 when I ran it, and I did. But I'm curious to see what happens once I apply the contest sims to it and see if his ownership is going to be that big that I might get off of him when I run the sims. That's where I am in this process right now. I already kind of put it in here. Again, whenever I talk about three games, I try to look at them all kind of together. And then the other one that I was getting a bunch of was Jordan Montgomery. So before I started tweaking it all, it was 100% Sale, pretty much 100% Montgomery, like 84% Montgomery. And then as far as hitting goes, I was going to have like almost 100% Cubs, and then San Francisco and Arizona. So I'm curious to see what happens when I start applying the sims. But why don't you start talking about some of your takes of like whatever you want, whatever the pitchers and hitters or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, so just to be fair, we've had a bunch of stuff going on company-wise and stuff that I was trying to pay more attention to. So I'm not actually playing this morning. But the guys who I would look at, I think Sale. I mean, look, if you can try to get to Sale and Managa, I don't mind eating the chalk. It's a little bit tricky to do depending on what you want to, what bats you want. But I do think that that's just naturally the most logical way to go. It's just a little bit hard to do price-wise. After that, I would probably go to Hicks and then Montgomery, then Festa. Those would be the order I would have the pitchers in. And I don't think and we're getting some interesting questions. A lot of people in here this morning and just popping in things that I think are good questions. And well, one of the first ones that Deep Hope and what's up, Deep Hope? He asked, should I tell SaberSim not to roster against pitchers or allow SS to decide on a 3-gamer? I think you allow SaberSim to decide. I don't think there's any reason why I don't think it's wrong at all to use some hitters against your pitchers on these kind of 3-game slates. So I am fine with that. I'm guessing, Sheets, you feel the same way. Occasionally you'll have
here's my opinion. Okay. So I have a lot more faith in the SaberSim algorithm and all their work than most people. I shouldn't say that most people. I just listen. I have the confidence in the team, and I know the guys and whatever that their assessment of what you're supposed to do based on their back testing is better than my gut. That's my instinct. So I'm much more accommodative to what they suggest. But one thing that's interesting is you got to keep in mind what is unchecked and what is checked as a default. So like right now in a 3-game slate, they do not have checked don't use batter as against opposing pitcher, and you'll see that also for obviously for showdowns, but for 2-game slate as well. And I'm pretty sure that if it went to 4 games, this would be checked by default. So if you have an opinion on this, these are the kind of the seminal slate sizes to keep in mind. So like if you have this 3-game slate and for whatever reason you would rather not have your pitchers against your batters, you are going to have to change the default because the default is allowing it. But and let's say also in a 4-game slate, if you want to get to lineups with pitchers versus batters or whatever, you are going to have to check that. So that's just a little SaberSim tip is that the 3-game to 4-game bump is usually where this default comes in. So to answer your question, I guess if it's good enough for SaberSim to allow the pitchers right now against batters, it's good enough for me. So I would I'd be inclined to do it anyway. But I'll just roll with their defaults here as well.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I noticed on a few five gamers and stuff earlier when I was trying to play around with the SaberSim that when I was trying to get them to build lineups, they actually even left it unchecked occasionally in those situations. So I don't know what the exact default rule is for them, but I was surprised to see that a couple of times. But I'm totally in agreement. And one other question I thought was this Purple Whips, who's I believe a member who asked this question in the Discord this morning. I don't know how to answer it. How would we use Sims and best way to sort? And he was asking how to sort.
I know. I think you know what? I think that I know what he was asking. I think it's just what he's asking is after you run the Sims, like, do you sort by ROI, risk-adjusted ROI, or whatever? If that's the question, the answer I'll show you right now is I sort by risk-adjusted ROI, and for no other reason that seems to be best practices. Again, that's what a lot of SaberSim guys and the people who have developed this stuff they use. DFS PhD, the guy that I've had on several times, I mean, he doesn't think there's too much of a difference between the ROI and risk-adjusted ROI or even win rate. But for me, again, just because I didn't backtest all this stuff, I may as well just go with what they say. So I like to so I just sort by risk-adjusted ROI.
Yeah, that certainly makes sense to me. That's what everybody seems. It seems to be the common one that everybody seems to like to do anyway. That makes the most sense.
The other thing I wanted to mention about today also is that one thing that SaberSim does not do in their defaults is limit stacks to like 5-man, 4, and 5 threes or whatever. So in big slates, what I feel I have to do sometimes is I have to go into the stack thing and just and X out those stacks I don't want, like 2 2 2 2s, 3 2s, 4 2s, 4 3s. But in the smaller slates, I'm not going to touch it. Like if I get like 2 2 2 2 2s or 3 2s, whatever it is, I'm not gonna screw with it. And this I'll create more, as they say, like Bobby stacks.
Right.
Now you say, do you rank risk-adjusted ROI and then late switch to ROI? That's interesting. I haven't, but I haven't. I can't imagine that being terrible.
I think anything you do that's different than what maybe somebody else is doing when it's going to be that similar, I think that actually just makes some sense from a strategic standpoint. Does that make sense at all to you, Sheets? Like, just because maybe other people, if they're going to do RA, ROI, they're not going to do that when they resort it. They're not going to switch to ROI. It's just an extra little thing you do that maybe it does make a little difference.
The other thing to address his other question is changing field lineups. Yes, that's what I do all the time. Is instead of going with their like under contest sim settings, like if I already changed my field lineups to my build one, instead of saying one of their predefined field lineups. And the best way I could describe when I do it and when I don't is I literally take a look at what I've created. So I created 5,000 lineups. And I look to see exposure, not from my 50, but overall, and see if that represents what I think the ownership is probably going to be. And it's like pitcher-wise, over the whole 5,000 lineup pool, I would see 65% or so sale, which seems to make sense to me, and then kind of like a mixture of the others. So I guess so I'm kind of comfortable with that. And then when I would go to team stacks, within, again, not exposure, but in the pool, I would see 50% Atlanta, 50% whatever. And yeah, so this seems like what the pool should look like, as opposed to just going with their predefined one, which you could click through it and see what's in there too. But again, in the name of being different, sort of what Bobby is saying is that I think that more people are going to go with the default builds, the ones that use SaberSim, than do it this way. Because not that many people put their own custom projections in. Not many people, you know what I mean? There are people that do it, but not. I would say the majority of people that use SaberSim, for example, just use SaberSim's projections. I imagine. There are obviously people that get more involved, like we and some of us do. But I definitely would not say the majority. So as long as you're within the ball game, I think to get different, sort of, I would, and as long as it's reasonable, I would use something custom like I did, if you can do it. So that's what I would do. Listen, you use the TrueDFS projection, use the Goldie projection, use any projections except for the straight SaberSim projections, for example, or make one even change the SaberSim projections. It's like rocket ship theory. You change it by like 1 centimeter, your whole lineup's gonna be different anyway.
Right.
And then you could use that as your field. So and again, just to show you, right? How do you custom field? Just like this. So like I ran my 5,000 lineups, and then within here, all these different choices of which field to use in your contest sims, all the way at the bottom, you have build one. And build one is basically what I just built. So let's see what I'd be getting actually. I applied the contest sims, and I wonder if it does me any good. Let's do the walk-off home run first, and we'll toggle back. We'll toggle back to the relay throw. Let's just see if I don't get 100%. What's his name after all that? So I would be getting still 100% sale, which means he's probably a good player. and more to the point, the reason why I go through this process is that it's showing me that there's some chalk that you can eat, or should eat. And I think this is a good example of that. And listen, I tried to run the sims. I tried to ding it for ownership, and yet still, this is what you get. Which should indicate that sale is probably kind of a lock. Let's just put it that way.
Yep, I think so. But and the thing is, it's just because it's a small slate, though. I would, if I was trying to build one lineup for the lottery, and I was just watching this, and I would not be playing Chris Sale, and I would probably try to play some White Sox bats. Or if I played Chris Sale, I would still try to play a White Sox bat or two, or something, just something to get a little bit off, because it's so hard to get off the board on these little 3-gamers.
It is true.
Yeah.
The other thing I don't do, by the way, is with I also don't do like leave salary on the table on purpose. I don't do geo mean stuff. I'm just not in baseball. I just don't do it. I just kind of get what I get.
Fair enough. All right. So, and then, just in terms of like the bats for this slate, just what I would like, just real quickly. Again, if I'm not playing Sale, even if I am, I would use maybe play like a DeYoung on the other side who's got some power, Andrew Vaughn. Luis Roberts a little bit more expensive. I tend to like to play if I'm using a pitcher. I would rather play somebody who's a little bit of a cheaper bet. But these are just get different. I think everybody's going to play Atlanta, and I have, there's no reason why they shouldn't. But I think getting some Chad Kuhl exposure. They let him throw 99 pitches his last start, even though he didn't pitch well or didn't pitch particularly well. Maybe mix him in a little bit. That's one other thought I had. The other thing was even though I like Imanaga almost as much as I like Sale, I think using some of these giants is just going to be a good way to get a little bit different. So those would be my takes on how to get a little bit different, is to try to get some Cubs and White Sox, try to get the Chicagos into some of your lineups, just in the interest of getting different.
Yes. Okay. So Pope, you could do that. It's a little hard, but you could. You take their field lineups and then kind of screw around and then take those 5,000 as your new field lineups. Yes, you can. And I don't know if it's best. I just don't. I just don't. And that's what's kind of cool about this, is I don't know the answer. But yes, those are all you could. There's a lot of different tricks you could do to get different types of field lineups. But I really do think at the beginning you should stick with the SaberSim defaults. But I'll show you an example. Like, do you want to do the late slate a little bit?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so you could talk about that while I just upload.
So I'll just get started on it real quick. It's only a 4-gamer, 7:07 Eastern, just for anybody, because there's weird other games at different times today. So just wanted to remind.
Carlos Rodon is in the slate. Okay.
Yeah, so there you go, and it's a small slate, which means you can probably stack against him if you want to.
I would have wanted to anyway. So what's the difference?
It doesn't matter the size of the slate. Yeah, I think that the natural pitchers would be. I mean, Flaherty's going to be so much by far and away the highest owned. Everybody else feels a tremendous amount of risk, and I like the idea of getting to some Blue Jays. But if I don't, I think that playing Rodon makes sense. Andrew Abbott might be my next favorite. I would never usually have thought of a lefty against this St. Louis team, but they just don't hit the lefties like they used to, even though they've been better, over the last month than they were to start the season. So I've got the pitchers ranked like Flaherty, well, probably Rodon, Abbott, then Mikolas. And if you wanted a cheap option, I do think that Davis Daniel is a very, very viable cheap option. So that would be my pitching pool pretty much from the late slate. And I'm just double checking the weather as I do that, because I haven't checked the weather for the late slate yet, and everything looks good tonight. So
I'm almost certainly not playing the late slate. Whoa, look at this! Look at this interesting note here. Noelvi Marte, I have a suspension notice in SaberSim. I don't know what that means.
Who is it?
Back from suspension or in suspension?
Who is the one?
Noelvi Marte.
He is supposed to be back today, I believe.
That's what I'm saying. Maybe back from suspension. Okay.
I think so, because he was out for a while.
Okay. So you asked how to do a custom thing. Okay, for example. All right. So I just built for the late slate 5,000 lineups, and I used their regular default for GPP. And the reason why I set it for 20 max is because again, I'm going to be playing different types of contests. So I, just to build a 5,000 pool thing, I didn't want to do all just with the 150 max builds, and it really doesn't I shouldn't say make too much of a difference, but I guess it makes a little bit of a difference. But I like to use the 20 max. It just encompasses all the types of contests I like to play. Just again, this is just to get the 5,000 lineup pool, and it's different. If this is a 15-game slate or whatever, I would say that 5,000 isn't even a big enough pool size, to represent what the field's going to do. But I think in a 4-game slate, I mean, not the 5,000 total amount of combinations, but it's enough, I think, where it's going to give you a good idea of what everybody's going to do. So the point is, I built 5,000 lineups. Before we see what I have, I mean, we could, but I think what's most important is see what the pool is, because I built 5,000 lineups and I rated them, my top 50. But forget that. Let me look at the pool here. So in the 5,000, it would be 57% Flaherty, 33% Rodon, 24% Daniel, 22%. So you see that. And I just kind of wonder as I watch this, and I look at this, if those ownerships represent what I think, the field is actually going to do. If I think it is or close enough, I would fire it. As my field. If I didn't feel that way, I'd probably just go right back to the default. So let's say for now, I like this, or we could do them both, for example. So let's look at contest sim settings. Let's first put, we're going to call this MME1. MME1. This one we're going to use theirs. We're going to use the flagship MME. So it's going to be exactly what their thing is, right? The next one I want to add, we'll call it MME2. And that one, we're going to use the build one. So we're using the 5,000 I just built for that one. So I can run both of these things. Now, what you could do if you wanted is if you go in here, let's see, I think you can click through this and see what that actual field is. I just don't know exactly where to get there. Okay, I'll be it for another time. But so we'll run them both and we'll see what we have. So so this MME, we'll save this one. Okay, so let's run them both. We're going to run the contest sims. So, and we're going to see the difference between what our exposures, sim adjusted, right, will look like given both field size. Now, first, let's take a look and see what we have normally, like without applying sims at all. We'd be getting 60% Cincinnati, 50% St. Louis, 34% Detroit. Okay, that's just using the Saber sim, like kind of high upside, sort of ownership driven lineup. So 60% St. Louis, Cincy, 50% St. Louis, 34% Detroit. And as I mentioned before, pitching wise, we'd be getting, again, not the pool, we're looking at the exposure now. 84% Flaherty, then 40% Rodon, 30% Waka, and then some strays. So let's look first at the let's look at the MME1. Use that one. For MME1, risk-adjusted ROI, okay? Again, that's using their main, the defaults. What would we be getting then? We'd be getting like 90% Angels, followed by 50% Cleveland and 24% Toronto. So basically not even remotely resembling what we'd be getting normally, which is sort of interesting. So using their defaults, we'd be getting all the Angels. Now, on the other hand, let's take a look at the MME2 one and see what the difference is over there. So if we used our fields, okay, we'd be getting more 60% Detroit, 48% Yankees, 42% St. Louis. And as far as pitching goes over there, and there's a point to this in a minute, we'd be getting Flaherty, Mikola. So pitching is not much of a difference. Except I'll be getting no Waka in this variation. So what have we learned here? I mean, we've learned that, whether you use the sims or don't use the sims or whatever, your results are completely going to depend on what field you decide to use. Okay, and you have to sort of make peace with that. So that's the rabbit hole you're going down. And as far as what I like to do, again, the more confident I am in the projections and the ownerships that I have, the more likely I am to go with kind of build one as opposed to going with the straight Saber sim default fields. And I guess that's pretty much all I had to say on this. I have no idea who I would play. If I had a gut instinct, by the way, I would, like I said, I would probably play Toronto against Rodon. And I would probably, which team is Flaherty on?
Flaherty's on, he's for Detroit.
I mean, I think the Angels are probably pretty good. No, I mean, we play these Angels a lot,
Right.
And Flaherty is going to be really popular, and mean, Flaherty can be good, but I've seen Flaherty struggle. I mean, I don't know. So if I were playing, I would be kind of funky in this slate. I would probably do something like Toronto or the Angels here, and certainly if I had was playing Detroit for some reason and things weren't going my way, I would swap those to the Angels a little bit later. What do you think? I mean,
yeah. So for the hitting, for me, it would be. I mean, the natural teams I would just not play the stacks of. It's gonna be mostly. I guess it's probably gonna be like you're gonna be able to afford things. I think because there's gonna be cheap bets in there. So I think the Yankees will be popular. I think Kansas City will be popular. I think Cleveland will be the next most popular. And I would try to do something to deviate from that. I like Abbott, so I probably wouldn't do the St. Louis thing like as a priority, but it is a good way to get different, and there's definitely upside because Abbott is streaky. I liked your Angels idea a little bit, getting some exposure there, but I like both sides of this Davis Daniel thing, and the fact that Detroit isn't getting much ownership. I think I would probably look at Detroit if that continued to be the case. But again, I would remind everybody, you don't necessarily need to stack. Like if you're not playing Nicolas, I would be trying to find home run. I would be playing Ellie De La Cruz, Candelario, Spencer
India is the nuts.
India also I would include into there. The only thing with him is a one-off. It doesn't have as much power quite as the other guys, but I wouldn't have any problem with that. I would probably. I mean, I like the Cleveland thing against Waka a little bit. The problem is it's just going to be popular. And I think I would get to the Blue Jays against Rodon. I think that's reasonable. Look, you got to take some gambles on these things, and the Blue Jays have a team that should match up decently against the lefty, especially one in Rodon, who they've faced before. That top four for them is pretty solid, and you're just going to get way lower ownership. And doesn't mean you have to get low ownership in every spot here, but I would try to target at least some 10 to 15 percenters. As opposed to just go ahead and play everybody who's going to be 25% or more, which is, I think by the end of the day, some of these guys are going to be. Purple Whips is asking a question. Is there any action for the early slate? I don't know what you mean. We went through the whole early slate, but I don't know what you mean by is there any action?
Yeah, you should rewind. I think you're here a little late. Yeah, just rewind. We did go over the early slate a little bit later.
Yeah. But I thought this is a good class on different things you can do using the tools, and I think that's really important what you went through. But for me personally, I would be picking out the bats that I like. Maybe I'd have like a 3-man Toronto or something, or even a 4-man Toronto with I guess a 3 or 4-man of whichever side I didn't use of the St. Louis Cincinnati game would probably be my
look at some of these players. I don't even know this guy. Who is it? Ben Rice season, whoever that is. $2,700 first baseman for the Yankees.
Oh yeah, he batted 8th last night.
He's seventh projected today.
Projected 7th today. I know actually I've got him. Some people have him as high as potentially 5th today, so that'll make him extremely popular. But yeah, I know a little. I just know that he's supposed to be okay, and that's pretty much all I know. And they don't really have any other anybody who's been hitting well from those positions. So it's possible he hits in the middle of the lineup, which is going to make him possibly the chalkiest play on the slate.
And how is this Davis Daniel guy we talked about a little bit?
I would play some Davis Daniel just in the sense because I mean, look, anything I don't know. Let me just grab my other notes here. Sorry, I write this like this. Davis Daniel, so he was in AAA. He has been pretty bad, to be honest with you, but it is Detroit and it's a righty who's stretched out at least. I would probably just gamble on that fact alone, to be honest. He's been really bad in his 4 starts in AAA, or sorry, I guess it's 6 starts in AAA, but I'm willing to overlook that because the Tigers, the matchup is there and he's cheap enough. But I don't think you'll be getting different with it. That's the only thing I have an issue with. He's going to end up being possibly the 3rd highest owned pitcher as of right now. I'm guessing that changes by the time the slate locks, but that's the only issue. The only thing that really worried me. I like the idea of Abbott. I don't love Barrios here, but I do think that playing a little maybe something in that range and maybe just trying to fade the Flaherty Rodon thing Abbott, Mikolas, Berrios, and next would probably be like maybe even Ben Lively would be another one I would consider, even though I personally like KC today. But yeah, it's a tricky one. I mean, because everybody, if you're fading the chalk and you don't have other incredible options, I think you stick with I think Abbott, Lively, Berrios makes the next most sense, along with Mikolas. It's all very similar, except for that Abbott has the significantly higher upside because he can get the strikeouts going. So I would probably lean to Abbott as my main guy, and then I would decide who my SP2 was based on what I could fit in, because I don't see a huge gap between everybody else except for Flaherty with his ceiling, and he's been unbelievably consistent. So maybe for single entry, Abbott and Flaherty. For if I was hand building a lottery lineup, maybe I would go Abbott and Berrios just to get a little different.
Let me go over a couple of things that are going on. I don't say with the site, with just DFS in general here for the weekend. So I'm just looking at the schedule here. So NASCAR, wow. So it's 3 days. So you have Truck Series tomorrow, Saturday 5 p.m. Xfinity and Sunday Cup. So check in with the Discord and with the YouTube channel to see when Brandon is going live. He usually goes live at some point for all three. I don't know if he's around, but I would watch for that. And again, I think that the Truck Series, it's kind of a tough window, because usually what happens is they have they don't even have the starting position until like a couple of hours before. So you got to watch for that. Look at our Discord channel. For those of you that want to get into NASCAR a little bit, we have some really, really sharp dudes in there. So this is NASCAR for the weekend. This is reminding me, Bobby, I keep forgetting to do this one. I should every day, if I have time, just do kind of like a summary of the DFS streets for the day, or something like what's going on for the day. I think it'd be kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea. We used to do a little bit of that. We were doing those BetQL shows. We'd sort of talk about every different thing, because that was remember the pandemic times, and we had all these different things. So here's the layout of the day. What's happening?
Right.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So this is NASCAR. MMA tomorrow, Saturday, is at 6 p.m. There's already a DFS video out on that, and there's going to be a betting breakdown. I'll do that from the city tomorrow, and I'll try to do a lineup construction video. The tennis, you got Wimbledon coming up next week, and I think they're giving away like 100,000 for first or something like that in the first one over there. So we're obviously going to be covering that. I might even do a video on that one. So that we'll do that. I try to put F1 videos up when I can. This weekend might be a little bit hard. And then golf, every day there's showdown, there's stuff, MLB all weekend long. So there's a lot of stuff. I've been a little bit derelict in my duties to try to get more of the WNBA stuff going. I just don't exactly know when the good slates are, so I'm not used to always checking in on it. Today definitely I'm not going to be able to do it, but tomorrow, the 2-gamer, I'm not sure if I'm going to be around, but I'm trying my best. Esports every day. For those of you that want to degen, there's literally a 4 a.m. slate every single day. And I'm not saying that you got to stay up till 4 a.m. to put it in. They don't really have a lot of late swaps. You put it in when you go to sleep. Whenever you wake up, it's like 8 o'clock, and you got a sweat. So we have sheets for that. I've already had Gelato LOL on the show. Look at our industry videos for that interview. He's awesome.
Yeah, that was cool.
So we got. Listen, there's a lot of stuff going on, and for having only a few people, I think we do an okay job of touching on all of it. So we'll continue to try.
Well, thanks to you, and appreciate it. Yeah, we're getting everything we can. All right, guys. Well, we appreciate everything. Thanks for the time. Please click the like button.
How does the public do it? They were struggling for a while, but they just knew to jam all the Aaron Rye this week. I think.
There you go.
They finally got one, but they've been struggling.
Yeah.
But Aaron Rye's within 3 feet every single stroke today at 30% ownership or whatever. So.
Yeah, I know the Rye thing. It was a good day for a lot of my guys, but it's going to be a good day for a lot of people, because this course ain't playing too tough.
Yeah, it's going to be 25 under at the end of the day. Not the end of the day, but the end of the tournament. I think.
Yeah, somewhere around there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and by the way, Sean B mentioned one last thing about that I want to throw about the main slate for baseball today. That Flaherty hometown narrative. I do think that can, like, because he's going to be popular. I would try to take the counter approach on that narrative and actually say,
it sounds good to me, man.
Just whatever you can find for stuff like that. Is sometimes it makes a little bit of difference.
If you got Adele and LaHope, I mean, there's always,
Yeah. We're asking Purple Whip's asking how do you see State Kings for early slate? Just look at State Kings. I'm sure nobody posted. This is such a crappy slate. I don't see a lot of things that would have been posted.
Yeah, I did not post anything for baseball today.
Yeah.
Well, I did post the MMA stuff for Saturday already.
Yeah. Yeah, no, Sean, of course he's probably going to be great tonight or whatever, but we can't go on, like, you can't try to find a narrative for a guy who's going to be 90% owned. He's already going to be owned anyway. Doesn't really means absolutely nothing.
So Poe Degen Stoner, he's really taking this. He's laddering Flaherty up to all the way up in the strikeout props. 9+ huh? Wow.
It's a lot, but if you can make that bet and then hedge yourself by stacking the Angels tonight. There you go.
Wow, has he ever gotten that many strikeouts?
Flaherty, yeah, he's done it before. He's been really good lately too. All right, well, anyway, we spent a lot of time talking about two pretty lousy slates, and Sheets went through a lot of great process stuff. So hopefully you guys got something out of that. And Sheets, anything else before we get out of here?
No. Again, just every day I think about the best way to deliver content, and it's I do appreciate whatever input you guys have of what you want to see, and now again, I'm not always going to do what you want to see, because sometimes I just want to do what I think is best for you, regardless of what you want. But I always like to mix process with slate by slate stuff, and we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
All right. Sounds good. And listen, I hope everybody notices one of these days the site's going to be faster, and we're making some developments there. And everybody's trying to improve.
That's my next meeting right after this. So we're working on it.
All right.
All right. Good luck, everybody. We'll see you guys in the Discord and see